Hey, this is Miss Haley. I'm going to review the steps of modeling data. This problem goes with number 25, I believe, in Chapter 4, Section 1, homework. Okay, so we've got this information over here, population that is foreign born in thousands. The population is in thousands, so this is really 143,000 that we're working with, but we're not typing in those zeros. And the years, 1910, 20, 30, and so on. Now, the population of a country that is foreign born has increased, as shown in the table to the right. Choose the correct scatter plot of the data, letting X represent the number of years since 1900. Okay, super important right there. Not for picking the graph, it's not super important, but for working the rest of the problem it is. Now, at this point, we're not doing anything in the calculator. We're not doing anything in the calculator yet. Instead, just look at the way the population numbers, at what they're doing. Are they increasing or are they decreasing? Well, 143, 153, that's going up, going up, going up, going up. So just by that, not by using the graphing calculator, we can choose and realize that, okay, this is what the graph would look like if these are my only two choices. Okay, just by looking at the numbers. All right, now, at this point, the next one is talking about using the regression feature of a graphing calculator to fit these three functions to the data. So now, this is when I'm going to grab my graphing calculator. So let me pull that over. Okay. Alrighty. Now, to put these in, we went to Stat button a few sections ago, Edit, and L1 and L2. Okay, a couple of things. If you do not have L1, L2 showing, then you need to press Stat, come down here to Stat Editor, Set Up Editor, and press Enter, and then hit Enter one more time, and that will give you back your L1, L2. The other thing to remember, after you hit Stat and choose number 1, Edit right there, if you have old numbers here, you can either delete, 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 or you can go up to the title, press Clear, not delete, Clear, and then when you hit the down, it will have wiped out whatever numbers were there. So up, clear, down. And then you could do that over here in L1 also if you had numbers. Up, clear, down. Okay, so now we should be at the same spot. We should have L1, L2, empty columns, and we're wanting to put in from over here our X's and our Y's. But now this is where we have to think a minute. Remember I said this was important? Okay, we're putting X's into the calculator, not these years. So over here, for instance, for 1910, if X represents the number of years since 1900, my X, which is what's going into L1, okay, is going to be, if it's 1910, that's 10 years since 1900. For 1920, that's 20 years since 1900, and so on and so on. So that's what we're putting into our L1 right now. So let's grab our calculator again. Okay, and so I'm going to be typing 10, enter, 20, 30 for 1930, 40 for 1940, 50 for 1950, 59, the next one is 1959, 69, 78, 87, and 97. So double check those. Be sure you typed in according to what your numbers are. Well, you should be doing this with me right now, so the numbers should be matching mine right now. Then you go back and try the one on your homework. Okay, so now L2 is the population, so I'm straight just putting in the numbers that I'm looking at up there. Again, even though it's in thousands, we're not typing the zeros after those digits. Okay. And so you might need to do what I did, hit pause on the video while you're typing all of those in, and then start it back up. So I just hit pause and I finished typing all these in. Hopefully I didn't make any typo errors. All right, so that's the first part to working these kind of problems, is getting the numbers in there. Now we're ready to do the part 2, which was actually down here, fitting the linear, quadratic, and cubic. Okay, so on my calculator, first I'm going to do second quit to get out of that. You can press clear here if you want to. Now we go back into stat. We're wanting to go to the calculation, so we go over right arrow, and we're wanting to do a linear regression. In a minute, it'll be some of these others right here. But right now we're doing number 4. Oh, shucks. Let me set mine to what I had told y'all to set yours before earlier. If you have not done this, come down and you want the diagnostics turned on, stat diagnostics, and you want stat wizards, if that's showing on your mode, turned off. And then second quit again to get back out here. Alright, so sorry about that. So let's do this again. Stat, calc, we want the linear regression, so number 4. Okay, and we're not ready to make any predictions or estimations, so right now I'm not going to worry about putting the Y1 back there. If you want to, just for practice, it won't hurt anything, and it'll help you probably to remember that, oh yeah, we're supposed to do that. So I guess I will go ahead and type it in to remind you how to do it. VARS button, right over here, VARS, right arrow 1 time, enter, enter, it pops it up, and then 1 more enter. Okay, now you would be writing this down on your paper. I'm going to just slide it over here for me to look back at in just a minute. You would be right now just jotting down what your R squared was to about 4 places so that we can compare it in just a minute. That's what the next line under that said. Compare the values of R squared to determine the function that best fits. Okay, so here's this first one. So this is saying y equals 4.72x plus 41.93 for the equation. And then your R squared that we'll be comparing in a minute would be right here. Now I'm going to go back to the calculator. I'm going to clear it off. I'm going to go back to stat, calc, and this time I want to do a quadratic because that's what the directions ask me to do. So I'm going to go down to number 5. And again, we're going to put the Y1 right there behind it, just so we don't forget that. VARS, right arrow 1 time, enter, enter, enter. Okay, and I'm going to slide this over. You would be writing it down on your paper. Okay, and then I'm going to do the cubic here. So bring the calculator back, clear, stat, calc, cubic is number 6, VARS, right arrow, enter, enter, enter. And see, that's the reason, the last two are the reasons that we had to compare R-squareds on this, just because the those two do not have R's on them, plain R's. So now we're looking at these three R-squareds, and we can see the winner is right here, the cubic. Okay. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Alrighty. Yep. A little bit off. Okay, so that was our cubic, so we would pick cubic. Now, I think at this point that this is where it asks you about, let me just slide it over here for right now. You know, picking the graph of that. And so we would just be picking the one. See, they've all got the dots going up, and we're picking the one that has the cubic, sort of like a roller coaster, right beneath, and see how nice it's fitting to the set of points. These others, this probably was the quad, because it's got a little curve to it. This probably was probably something that we didn't do. That's probably like a logarithm. And then this was your linear. So anyway, so over here, again, we're not graphing those in the computer, in the calculator to look at it. We're just using the answer we got, and, you know, that's best along the set of dots that we chose earlier. Alrighty, so now we know who the winner was. It was the cubic. Now we're asking about what are these predicted values. Okay, big thing here, you got to pay attention to which function it's asking you to use. So 3 different ones. And which years and what their x's would be. So you've got to figure out the x for each of those. So remember back up here what x was. X is the number of years since 1900. So if your year is 2000, that is 100 years since 1900. And, okay, 2010 minus 1900, that is 110. Oops, let me clean that up. That looks like a 40 right there. All right. 110 years since 1900. So my x's I'm going to use for all 3 of these, because they're all 3 about the same years, are 100 and 110. I want to use those in my table. And so, in order to do that then, I'm going to clear, and I'm still out on my home screen. I'm not in Y equal. I'm going to pick, this one was linear, so I'm going to retype in stat calc linear, the number 4, and immediately right there put vars, right arrow, enter, enter, and then enter for a 3rd time. Now out here, it just looks the same as earlier, but if you pressed your Y equal, you'll have all of that sitting there. So now go second table. Don't clear that out. Oops. Got to reset this. Y'all should already have this on ask. Right there, just the top, not the bottom. If you don't, if you get an automatic table like mine just popped up there real quick, this was in second and table set, second window to get to this screen to check it. All right, now I'm going back to the table, which is over here. So second graph. And I'm putting in my x's, which were 100 and 110. Okay, so for the linear, you can see 514, if we're just rounding, and 561. Now you got to do the same thing for these two, but you've got to go back out, second quit, and you've got to ask it for the quadratic function, stat, calc, quadratic, and again, put your Y1 behind it, vars, right arrow, enter, enter. Once it pops up, one more enter. Okay, out here is what you got earlier. We want it for the table, second table. So it already had the X's in, so it automatically changed my Y's. And so you can see right there, that's matching this one with the star by 553 and 629. And then finally, second quit. One more time, stat, calc, this time cubic, number 6. Put the Y1 behind it, vars, right arrow, enter, enter, enter. Behind the scenes, it's already copied and pasted it up here into my Y equal. So I can go straight to my table. It had the correct X's, and so these are the two new Y numbers which match what we've got down there. Okay, hope this helps.